So Montreal is beautiful. First of all, there's some incredible architecture. It has a lot of very old historic buildings. If you've seen Ghostbusters, the building that the Marshmallow Man climbs up, that's there. You'll see that. Riding the bus around town. A lot of films are filmed there. It's a lot of Hollywood films are actually filmed in Montreal. And so sometimes you'll see, areas blocked off for filming or whatever, and that's kind of fun to be in that environment. I mean, it has a very metropolitan feel. There's people from all over the world there on business, on travel, or just living there. There's several universities, so a lot of student areas. They have a couple different English universities, a French university. It's really cold. That's for certain. It gets, I think on some days it was like -40, which is where it doesn't matter if you're talking Fahrenheit or Celsius. They do use Celsius, there, by the way, in the metric measurements. So, when you're driving, it's kilometers per hour. You have to get used to that. 60 kilometers per hour sounds pretty fast, but it's not. So you got to watch your speed. And French and English are the main languages in Montreal, and mostly French outside of Montreal within Quebec. But maybe a third of the people you hear speaking are speaking something else. They'll be speaking Russian or an Eastern language or Spanish is very common as well. So most people live in apartments in Montreal. There's a lot of apartments. There's also some beautiful homes in some areas as well. There's a beautiful park. Mount Royal Park or Montreal Park was designed by the same guy who did Central Park in New York, and it just has beautiful paths and a pond that they turn into an ice skating rink during the winter, and they have sleigh rides, and it's just very kind of magical during the winter. The fall is gorgeous. The maple leaves all change, and speaking of maple leaves, their hockey teams are very well supported by fans, and it's very difficult to schedule an appointment during a hockey game or to try and track. But unless you want to watch the game with someone, they'll let you in. Crime really didn't seem to be. I never felt like fear being in Montreal, and we'd be out till 9:30 or 10 at night sometimes with our appointments. There is an area called the Red Zone, which we never went to because it was the Red Zone, and it's mostly an old part of the city that has a lot of bars and things, and really people don't live there. It's just a kind of a commercial district, and so apparently there's maybe some crime going on down there that there was a good reason, I'm sure, that they told us to stay away, a few blocks of the city. But for the most part, it's very easy to get around and very safe. Most of the time we're in the subway. Oh, this is a really exciting part of Montreal. So they have the metro system, they call it. So you ride in these subway. They have 4 main lines to get all over the city, as well as some street buses if you need to get around. But they have underground malls, basically. Like, you can access a lot of the city, all of downtown, from underground, just walking through tunnels and taking the subway. And some people, they have their apartment has access to underground. They don't have to go out in the winter when it's -40 degrees. They can just go underground. They can get to their grocery store, to the mall, to work, to the bank, everywhere they need to go, just underground. That's pretty cool. So we really didn't tracked, go door to door looking for people outside, because nobody's outside during the winter. So you meet people just in the tunnels down underground. You meet people on the subway. It's actually really cool. It's a really fun place. You get lost at first because you don't know where you're going, but just pick up a map and you can orient yourself pretty well, or ask people where to go. People are really friendly. So they do have a different currency. They have the Canadian dollar. I don't know what it is now. At the time, it was advantageous to us. We got more. I think we got $1.30 in Canadian money for $1 US. So things seemed to be a little cheaper. We went to Wendy's and you get a $1 burger, and it really is costing you like 75 cents or something. But I mean, as far as being able to access things, a lot of the shops and the restaurants, you wouldn't know if you were in the US or Canada, except for the French menus. But I mean, all the fast food chains and some of the restaurant chains and the grocery stores have different names, but you can get all the products you need. You can get your peanut butter and jelly. You can, whatever you need. if anything, they just have more variety because of such a diverse population, a culturally diverse population. Something outside of Montreal, I guess, that is easier to find. You can maple syrup. They have even in Montreal they have, it's called a sugar shack or cabane à sucre, and basically during the maple syrup season, so the early spring when the maple trees are letting their syrup out, you go to these places and whatever you order on the menu, usually it's a breakfast type thing, but it could be anything, and they bring out a pitcher of hot maple syrup and you just pour it on your food, and maybe not the healthiest, but it tastes really good. So in the city of Montreal, there were, I think, 3 or 4 buildings, and I think now they may have double that. They have a couple new ones. And then in the suburbs of Montreal as well, there are several church buildings, and some of them are unique. Some, like the one I went to when I was in downtown Montreal, was like a 4-level building that had been converted to a church. And so when you're on the inside, it has kind of the same wallpaper and chair rail that a lot of the LDS churches have in Utah or somewhere in the U.S. But they also have. There was also an elevator. Classrooms were on different levels. The bishop's offices were on like the top level, and the chapel was in the basement, like a big open room down there. It's easy to get to a church building too. They're all near the metro stations, or in some of the smaller towns they have a very small meeting house where they just have a chapel and a few classrooms for a branch. But in Montreal, yeah, churches. I mean, it feels like anywhere in the U.S.